won't pay that invoice until next board meeting.
Okay.
Tim, thanks for the letter. I appreciate that. That helped me just talk about concrete bumpers.
Excited. I could have snapped a picture and included it. They're like in the corner of the bus lot, between the bus lot and the innovation center.
We can take a tour afterwards if you really want to. The obsolete.
To inspect the obsolete people.
Yeah, for sure.
No, you're gonna mention anything about that. I mean, everything's done with it, just as like information, I mean, just the fact that it sold we ended up being able to sell less off, but that 3.17% or whatever the average interest rate, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for the money.
For sure.
That it'll close on the 20th.
Do that much report. And
Successful bond sale.
that's always a good thing. Larry, I know you shared that book with me, Hal Moore. I saw a clip of just, I've been seeing more and more of his interviews, just snippets. I'm gonna give you a new term. There's a term called micro-learning, which is a kind of a hogwash term, but it's, if you watch short videos, 30 to 45 seconds,
Yeah.
and just glean pieces of information, there's a term called you micro-learn. You just learn a little bit about something. So it's called micro-learning.
Very glad to see you're here today.
Yeah,
I didn't think you were gonna be. You were having surgery or something.
tomorrow.
Oh, your surgery's tomorrow.
Have to be there at 5 o'clock.
Doesn't sound like a good time. What are you having done?
Left knee.
I should probably have my left one done, but I'm gonna go until I can't go no more.
Larry, if an actuary was gonna put a price on your body, you're probably worth about $4 or $5 million, aren't you, with all the back and knee and. How many surgeries?
I quit counting. It's more than 10 and less than 50.
That sounds my standard deviation chemistry class. I love the power of the standard deviation.
I like chemistry and doing the formulas, but I didn't like the experiments.
I was just the opposite. I was not necessarily, my strength wasn't necessarily math, more hands-on. That's why I was a life science major, but you had to take chemistry and physics. Are we on yet, Brandon?
Yes.
We're live right now? I was gonna tell a story about physics. So I took my practice test after college, and I got to see, I had to take 2 semesters of physics, I had to take physics. And on my practice test, I got 15 out of 15, which don't ask me how. So on my initial practitioner license, I had physics and life science on my license. Never thought I'd teach physics. Second year as a teacher at Milan, physics teacher gets a brain tumor, has to miss the school year. So my principal came down and said, Mr. Ketchum, I see you have physics on your teaching license. And I thought, oh no. I learned more physics that year than I did 12 hours of college.
Larry, I thought you were laid up with surgery this week.
That's tomorrow,
Oh, tomorrow.
See, I thought the same thing.
We had to meet today because he's gonna be out tomorrow.
No, this works fine. I schedule around you.
Thank you.
Are you going to Cincinnati for that?
Yeah.
So did they require you to like spend the night for that? Yeah.
The knee replacement, right?
Yeah.
Alex Dudley's grandma, Joanne Amber, just had that done and she's up, getting after it already, so.
They made the new hip, they make that day sometimes, yeah.
Maybe you could get up and walk that day.
Yeah.
I guess someone's right.
We have that.
Oh, so that's.
And I walked through with it. And they
Seems like a
cash.
Yeah.
Paid a nice hotel.
Fun I was talking about.
There's no one talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like world-class care,
Yeah.
and it incentivized for you to take.
So I was like, okay, maybe, and then I just, through conversations, and
You're
everything.
having fun with Miller.
No, that's something where.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and they went up to the pump station and they were, everything that we talked about is accurate. So,
Yeah.
testimonial,
Yeah.
testimonial's true.
About nothing.
But
Everyone talks about nothing.
again, financially, how can you not? The quality of care is supposed to be off the chart.
Trust me.
And I get it.
All right.
He doesn't mind being called coach.
Yeah,
How many people call him
I've been called worse.
that? Recently. Recently.
Why it's on a phone call today for me?
Called worse or called coach?
Worse.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
What are you talking about? This one?
Just kidding.
I don't remember what was.
That's good.
Yeah. I didn't know that we were supposed to, I didn't realize, obviously he's gonna present, but I don't know what we have to approve. I don't remember. Unless it's like things that they've added to it, and like they don't need our approval.
Right there.
Wayne, did you have a productive lunch the other day?
Some ways, a lot of retread and the same discussions from
Prior.
past years.
I assume that's when I saw your lunch partner.
It's, things seem to be that they're progressing for, but it was all just about how Main Street can possibly help the next restaurant tour that may be showing up there, so
That's
trying to get them involved, so,
good conversation to have.
yeah, I keep telling, every time we meet with them, I say, you know, downtown Batesville is different when the Sherman's open, regardless whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, or people say one good thing, bad thing, or don't go, it's different, so.
And I think you leaned it would say better, I mean, regardless, it's better when it's open, so.
Right. I don't know if the beer hall will ever come back at this point. I don't know what that looks like, but just having another restaurant downtown would be.
Yeah, I thought the beer hall was a nice little, you know, again, perspective, I thought it was a little great place, really.
Right.
Really did.
Right.
But that's not my financial decision.
Yeah.
What's that?
Do a good thing.
Today,
Today, one day at a time, right?
tomorrow's a different story.
Yeah, I don't ever envy anybody who goes into the
Tomorrow, oh, really? Okay.
restaurant game. If you think about when you
The
work, it's
future will be
like
better. It'll be a little rough stretch.
you're working nights and weekends when everybody is off, because that's when your
The future will be good.
customer base is
I won't miss
available
any school board
attending.
meetings.
It's like, it's not real great for
Well timed.
families or personal lives or social lives. It's like working third shift almost for.
It really is.
What's the
Workforce
expected recovery?
issue. It's kind of like, renting property, like if you have great rent.
Oh, I think-
Rental's not bad, when you don't, when you, if you own a business, you have great
4 to
workers.
6 weeks, I should be
You're gonna have to be there every day.
Right.
in good shape.
Yeah.
Right.
Be multiple, yeah, maybe not 100%.
Yeah.
6 months.
Right.
That was my main.
Yeah, go through all therapies.
Mhm.
I knew it was coming.
Fun times.
Just came back.
Therapists in Batesville are very.
Carrie, yeah, done a lot of work. Yeah. She had a good excuse.
You sign all those papers for Doug Wilson.
Mhm.
That was nice.
Signing my life away.
Yeah.
I did that on the last one too, where I was the secretary. I had to sign all of them, I think.
Probably big one.
Oh, yes.
Those
When
attorneys,
you've done it for as many years as he has, it's probably just a walk in the park.
40+ years.
Yeah.
He has very good memory about certain topics.
Yeah. According to Larry's clock, it's noon, so we can go ahead and get started. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Ketchum, we'll turn it over to you for our vision statement.
Madam President, thank you very much. Members of the board, welcome. Welcome to this beautiful Wednesday in Batesville, Indiana. We begin every board meeting with our North Star, our why, and that is together with our community. BCSC is committed to providing an engaging and relevant learning environment based on a strong foundation of academic knowledge, transferable skills, and real-world experiences. Batesville Bulldogs embody confidence, empathy, and resiliency to ensure 21st century success. So thank you for that, Madam President. And with that, ma'am, we'll roll right to our agenda. The first consent agenda item for your consideration is a consideration of minutes from our prior board meeting on September 17th. So with that, Madam President, seek a motion to present those minutes as presented.
Does anyone have any questions on the minutes?
No,
Can I seek a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Larry. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Blaine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll continue on the agenda. The next item for your consideration is the payroll journals and register of claims. You do have 6 additional pages in front of you today from Mr. Nobby that were not in your board packet because of the last cleanup any outstanding invoices. Just draw your attention to page 1 of 6. Some of our larger bills, obviously Batesville Water and Gas, $15,000. And then as we scroll through on page 3 of 6, obviously we have some of our bus routes are contracted routes. So we're paying those contracted route drivers. And then finally, on page 4 of 6, $10,000 for our school lunch program. Obviously we have to purchase all of those consumable items. Give you a moment to look through those. Happy to answer any questions you have on that or the prior board packet.
So is the big board, for $33,854 from here at Nelco, is that for the new roof or the stuff?
For, a lot of it is mechanical equipment at the middle school.
Okay,
There's some, over fall break, we're going to be replacing some of the HVAC equipment on the original part of the building, and that material has all been
Okay.
delivered.
any other questions? Can I seek a motion to approve the payroll journal?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Blaine. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. The next item on our agenda is a list of personnel. I did want to draw your attention yesterday afternoon. There were 3 additions to the initial board packet that Laura Cole sent out, specifically the resignation of Dwight Creed, custodial maintenance staff, Austin Gross, esports sponsor, and Megan Spreckleson, National Junior Honor Society sponsor. So those were new to the initial board packet. I just want to make sure you saw those changes. With that, I'll seek a motion to approve that list of personnel as presented.
Paul, what is esports?
Great question. So in the middle school, they're actually thinking gaming. It's a gaming concept where a sponsor, they play educational games, for lack of a better term. It was a big push from the Indiana Association of School Principals maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Mr. Strauss, being a member of that board, it brought esports. There actually, believe it or not, Madam President, there are scholarships for students to attend specifically Ball State and be on esports teams. So think of it as gaming.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
I will bring this up just with the personnel additions. I've talked with Paul about this, and Stephanie and I met about this. But Larry, and also for Jeremy and Sean, who aren't here, I know I've had a number of parents over the past year reach out to me about questions about administrators serving on coaching staffs. And I would like to ask our board members to contemplate their opinions on that going forward. And mostly it's from a parent perspective. The report is they have a question or concerns about the reporting mechanisms and who they're supposed to go to when we have administrators who serve on coaching staffs, is the concern. And candidly speaking, I think that, Paul's on our list here today, and I know Andy Allen has been a basketball coach. I think our administrators are some of our most qualified folks to work with students, and some of our most influential folks that work with students and student athletes. And so I think they're a positive influence on our teams as coaches. But again, from a parent perspective, I think that's something we kind of need to contemplate and somewhat formulate some opinions on, as far as administrators serving on coaching staffs and being involved in extracurricular activities, just from a parent perspective. And so again, not asking for an opinion today, but just something to think about going forward. I don't know if it's been a policy that we've not had administrators serving in these roles historically, or if that's ever been a written policy, but again, something that from parents and of student athletes that have brought that up to me. Again, over the past year, it's been raised. And so again, just something to contemplate and think about as we go forward beyond today. So
I have the same opinion as you, Blaine, so I'm in your house on that one.
that's just my comment and on the personnel things, but anyhow.
Anything else? Can I seek a motion to approve the personnel?
I'll make that motion to approve the personnel.
Thank you, Larry. Do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Blaine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll continue down our agenda item. The next item for your consideration are travel requests. You have a list of travel requests in front of you, and I'll seek a motion to approve those as presented. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
I just have a procedural question.
Please.
With my wife being on the list, but us only having 3 board members here, if I were to abstain from this, it would carry just on the votes of 2 members. Is that correct? It's a majority of the quorum
Still the
present.
majority of the quorum, so your abstention would still allow that motion to pass.
Okay, that's my understanding. Just want to make sure.
Larry, you make a motion?
Yes, I will make the motion,
Thank you, Larry. Can I second it?
and I'll second it. And I'll vote.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
And
All
I
those
Carry.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
will abstain, Laura, for the record.
And if Mrs. Demonera wasn't reimbursed, I'll let you deal with that.
Yeah. I'm sure she'll figure it out one way or the other.
Thank you very much. We'll continue down the agenda. The next item for your consideration is the actual budget adoption. We spent an arduous amount of time in September's meeting to go over all the numbers. This is our final opportunity to ask any questions. If you have no questions, I'll seek a motion to adopt that budget as presented. Again, just for transparency's sake, once this board approves the budget, it still has to go to the DLGF where it's formally approved. So seek a motion to approve the budget as presented.
Is there any questions on the budget from anyone?
I think we had a prior discussions on
Mm-hmm.
it. I think we understand it.
Can I seek a motion to approve the 2026 budget?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Blaine. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll continue on. We'll transition to our financial report. And without further ado, I'll turn over to Mr. Tim Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. Ketchum, for sure. On the screen, we have the financial report for the month ending September 30th. Fairly straightforward month. In the education fund, we had our basic grant payment, along with any other miscellaneous revenue of a little over $1.5 million versus expenses of just over $1.4 million. So that balance actually climbed by over $100,000 to end the month at $2,076,656. We had just small miscellaneous revenue into the debt service fund, so that, and no expenses. We won't have any expenses out of there until December. So that balance climbed a little bit at a little over $1.43 million. The operations fund, our second largest fund based on expenses, we had about $93,000 of receipts and $473,000 of expenses. So that balance dropped, but still remains at $3,669,000 and change. So we will expect in November, sometimes November, definitely by December, we will get our second half draw. So the balance in the operations fund is holding strong and ahead of where we were last year. The rainy day fund, no activity. Our overall fund balance across those four funds is $7,185,123 at the end of September. And that actually is more than $500,000 above where we were last year at this point. We're about $200,000 higher in the education fund balance. And then the rest in the operations fund, we're carrying a larger balance right now.
Any questions for Mr. Hunter at this time? Mr. Merkel?
Do we still move money into a mutual fund or something where we get a higher interest rate?
Mr. Navi, you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, we put the, last year we put the $5 million in and we haven't had to touch that account, so it's been sitting there accruing
Okay,
interest every month.
so you haven't had to pull anything out?
Not yet.
All right.
Mr. Navi, I don't want to throw you in the bus. You had shared some investment totals this year. Are you comfortable sharing the totals with us right now?
Yes, as of September 30th, we had about $210,000 of interest income for the year. That's just round numbers, but
Again, just put that in perspective, that it's a lot of money, but it's impactful for us to basically find $200,000. As you know, our education fund, for us, a good year is we grow $100,000. So I'm going to credit Mr. Navi for his foresight to invest our money in a obviously very stable fund to grow that interest rate. So that's good news to share with this board.
So we leave the interest there and let it compound?
yes, I don't
Okay.
withdraw anything unless we need it.
Okay, great.
Any other additional questions? Okay. Madam President, we'll transition to a portion of this meeting called We're All Ready, and I'll do my best to set it up for Dr. Jackie Huber. Many of you may or may not know, in 2011, the state of Indiana has created a statute that all teachers had to go through an evaluation process, and it was initially called the RISE rubric. It was a very arduous, heavy lift. It had great intentions. Every educator had to be observed a minimum number of times. There was a lot of energy from administrators, and everyone was rated on a scale from 1 to 4. Those numbers had categories of highly effective, effective, needs improvement, and improvement necessary. The intent was good, to create some accountability in classrooms. It pushed administrators into classrooms. That was a good thing. But after a decade of that process, it is really, there's very little return on investment on that process anymore. So in the most recent Indiana General Assembly, they kind of, I don't say abolished, but they got rid of that format and they just asked schools to come up with local teacher evaluation plans. I'm going to give our administrative team a lot of credit, and I can't underscore the amount of work that went into this. A lot of schools are status quo. They're still using that, I'll call archaic format. Our team, as they always do, kind of took the bull by the horns and said, let's create something that really focus growth and align with our Bulldog Ready Master Plan. So what you have in your board packet is a compilation of work from many administrators. What Dr. Huber did so very well was to organize all of our thoughts and pieces of this puzzle and put it into today's plan. So without further ado, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Huber and let her just talk a little bit about it.
Thank you, Mr. Ketchum. As Mr. Ketchum mentioned, I was tasked with, probably in the spring, just taking the conversations from the admin meetings as well as the resources. They started to brainstorm what they wanted that evaluation process to look like. So I was tasked with taking the different components of it and then presenting it in this document that you see in your packet. So this document was created not only for the teachers to have a reference as they go back through this new part of their teacher growth plan, but it also was a resource for the principals, just to kind of guide the process. So we introduced, the principals actually introduced it into pieces. If you look at page 7, the first part of the plan was involving them developing their own grow goal. So on page 7, and I'm sure that you are probably somewhat familiar with the grow model, and it's just a model of discussion as we have conversations with anything, with our teams, with as administrators talk to teachers, just how they are evaluating whatever the process is. So the growth plan actually is kind of the guide for the first component, which is the growth goal. So late August, early September, the principals presented page 8 through page 13 to the teachers. And they asked the teachers to review this process. Their task was to create their own goal. And as Mr. Ketchum mentioned, the teachers, it was a different thought as far as the evaluation goes, because the teachers were asked to come up with their own goal. It was personal. It was to help them professionally. The steps that begin on page 8, the teachers were given 2 different options for self-reflection. So maybe they're not really sure what they want that growth goal to be. So they were given options to just kind of think about, reflect on, to guide where they want that goal. They were also given some examples. So in the document that you have, one of the pages just is links to different examples to help them write goals. So some of the teachers maybe were a little challenged or a little like writing a goal, they were a little intimidated. So we wanted to make the process easy for them. The other piece on page 8, it was just the steps. The teachers clicked on the link, they created a sheet, they put their grow goal, which is very similar to the screenshot here, and then they shared this with their administrators. So all of the administrators have a direct link to this sheet in which they have their goal. There are 3 components to that sheet. Not only is the goal identified, but there's an observation form, and it follows that grow model. So that is the 2 pieces, and I believe maybe that was shared with you at the last board meeting, just the process, the experience of the teachers with the grow. So the second component is going to be introduced to the teachers after fall break, which is the observations. So the grow goal was the first component. So beginning on page 14 in your resource, you will see information about the observation. So the observation is actually the teachers going in the classroom, and I worked with the administrative team as they reviewed the old RISE evaluation form, in which they reviewed what they used to look for when they guided observations in the classroom, and they streamlined it. There are 4 essential indicators, which you will see on page 14 and 15. I developed with the administrators the Google form. So when an administrator goes in the classroom, they sit down a simplified form, and this process is all communicated to the teachers, and it's outlined on page 14 and 15.
The teachers have an opportunity to reflect. The administrators will get like a form, a PDF generated, so then to provide the teachers feedback. So it's continuous, go to the classroom, reflect, meet with the principal. So it's something that's ongoing. And that is part of the observation and reflection, which is part of this growth plan. The other components of this plan, this resource that you see, are other important aspects of that growth plan as defined through the work that I did with the administrators. One piece is leadership points, and it's opportunities that teachers will participate as you see on the list on page 16 and 17. They participate as curriculum mapping, they're a mentor teacher, they're a summer school teacher, but opportunities for teachers to participate or in various school activities. Page 18 is the core professionalism tracker. This is something that was component of the old evaluation system, and all teachers are set to be proficient in each of those 6 categories. And you'll see on page 18, the core professionalism tracker is that they contribute positively to the culture, they collaborate, they maintain accurate records. So it's basic professionalism. And then if an administrator has issues with any of those components, they will communicate that with the principal, or I'm sorry, with the teacher. So it's understood, all of the teachers, these are important components and they are proficient. If a teacher in any instance is not proficient, the administrator would make you aware of that. So they would bring that to the teacher's attention. The resource also includes roles, responsibilities. On page 20 and 21, you'll see just an overview. It's kind of a Q&A. We did a lot of brainstorming at our leadership summit this summer, just to kind of be proactive. What kind of questions might the teachers have with regards to this plan? And then finally, it ends with appendix. And the appendix is something that we will continue to update and review and grow. So that is the teacher growth plan resource.
What I really love about it is it truly is a targeted dialogue now between administrator and teacher. Where do you want to grow professionally? After the observation occurs, that teacher is then given first the opportunity to respond to the observation. How did it go? Where did you get stuck? What would you do differently? Because a lot of times when we walk in the classroom, we walk right in the middle of something, and it's not fair to the teacher or the administrator. For example, if you run evaluate a basketball game, you walk in at halftime, you don't see any basketball, you think, well, this is a bad basketball, right? That's not a fair observation of that basketball game. Same concept. What was I supposed to see when I was in your classroom? And again, it just creates that target. It goes away from compliance, gotcha, to how do I really help you grow on the mutually agreed upon goal that we've already set for each other. That, oh, by the way, aligns with our master plan. So that's what I'm most excited about. It's very hard to use a template in first grade and in chemistry class. And that's what we've done for 13 years. It's very hard to use a template for a teacher of special needs in the moderate room and a physics teacher. And now each teacher has the opportunity to say, well, this is where I'd like to go professionally. And the goal is the administrator gives you the coaching feedback to do that. And then say, what barriers do you have? What resources can I provide you? And all of a sudden now, instead of saying, well, I'm a 3 out of 4, I was able to grow professionally. So again, it's a lot of information, but conceptually, I wanted you to have an opportunity to understand it. It will be an action item later. If this board approves this teacher growth plan, it's what I will submit to the state. That meets the statutory requirement that we have to submit a teacher observation plan. So I'll hit pause and just listen for any questions. And Dr. Huber, thank you. Wonderful job.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, so
Please.
Paul, there may be additional changes for this. We have to get something submitted across the line and then it can continue to be morphed from here.
Absolutely. If we learn nothing else from Ford NGO coaches, that evolution occurs on processes and formats. And that was a talking point to teachers. This is year 1. Based on our feedback, year 2 could look a little different. And it probably should look a little different. What happened in the RISE rubric? It was the same rubric for 13 years. It didn't evolve, right? It became archaic pretty quick. There will be different iterations of this growth plan, but this is our best attempt in year 1.
Are we up against a deadline to get this submitted or approve this today?
We're up against the deadline before submitting it to the DOE. That's the deadline, yes. So again, we've intentionally rolled this out to teachers in bits and pieces. There's a quote, slow is smooth and smooth is fast, instead of just saying, hey, we're changing everything. We've been having actual conversations last spring about where we're at. The feedback, Mr. Timonero, has been amazing from teachers because they feel like they're part of the process now. They are going to set the goals and have that conversation with the administrator.
And that's what my question was, where I was going was, has this been discussed with the teachers or the BEA or things of that nature, just to get their input on things? Just tell me if I'm wrong, but this sounds like it's a far more involved process for teachers from an evaluation standpoint than what historically has been under the RISE rubric.
I don't know if that's accurate, and here's why. Because the compliance, there was 13 competencies, and you had to do 7 of these and 4 of those. I think it's a lot less cumbersome. I think you kind of own the process more than ever before.
And the plan was that all the administrators shared this draft of this plan, I believe, at their September staff meetings. So I know that they have seen the various components, but this, as a resource, it was shared with each of the buildings, I believe, at their September staff meeting.
Was that after our board meeting?
It could not. Every staff meeting is different based on the building, but again, we live in a world of no surprises. The teachers knew when they left here last year there's going to be a new model, and one of the benefits of Mrs. Essex serving as a dean of students is her teacher perspective. She was part of building this summer, and she brought a lot of value and feedback about perspective. But again, just in my conversations with BEA and teachers, I think there's appreciation. The administration took an attempt to do something different and better. It would have been very easy to keep the same model, and honestly, that would have been a waste of a lot of people's time.
I have a couple of questions. So each teacher will have a personal goal where they're going to improve
Yes.
themselves,
Correct.
okay? Could you maybe give me a generic example of that?
So the guide, a part of the guide for creating that goal, it did have to build on one of the strands, because we did want to tie in our Bulldog Ready initiative. So the strands are teaching, learning, culture, systems and structures, or school and community partnerships. So most of the teachers, I would say, probably focused on teaching and learning. And some even went as far as they wanted to build let's say an elementary classroom, they wanted to build in the attributes, the Bulldog Ready attributes each month. So their goal might be to develop a monthly lesson that builds the attributes. So that would could be an example of one of the
Okay.
goals.
Is there a classroom goal?
Not necessarily. Typically, there's a building focus. So for instance, at the primary school, their focus is reading and literacy. Like that's kind of their overarching focus. But the goal, the admin team felt that this particular goal should be something that they're focusing on personally. So it is, I believe it's very personalized.
So the Indiana academic standards are the Indiana academic standards.
Sure.
We have the obligation to teach those, right? But the goal shouldn't just, well, I'm going to teach Indiana academic standards. When you go through the rubric, it says, how do I consistently communicate the use of learning targets with my students and learning appropriate language? So the goal for the teacher could be, how do I take my 4th grade Indiana academic standards and how do I consistently communicate those learning targets with my students? That's under strand 1, which is teaching and learning.
Okay.
And that goes under our pillar of knowledge, right? We want every student to leave Batesville High School with the appropriate knowledge and skills. So before, the old model, as I walked in and observed Mr. Merkel, I would have a big rubric that says, Mr. Merkel consistently uses learning targets with students, and I'm in there for 30 minutes. I may never see you do that because we didn't establish that mutual goal, right?
Right.
And I'm gonna move on because I'm scripting things and I'm checking 74 boxes in 45 minutes. And that's an accurate, that's what was happening before. And then we'd give that report back to the teacher and be like, what are you really talking about, Mr. Ketchum?
My last question was on page 16. It says, conduct 9 hours of parent-teacher meetings outside the contract day. Now, are they compensated for that time? For parent teachers?
So that is why it's called a leadership point, it's going above and beyond. So if you do things outside the contractual day, you will earn what are called leadership points. Those leadership points have been agreed upon between teachers and administrators. So that is one component of leadership. But here's the truth, not every teacher has that opportunity, or not every teacher can do that. That's why there's multiple leadership points opportunities. The best leadership point you get is 97% attendance to come to work. And that's the one we really stress to teachers. That's a leadership point. You come to work every day, leadership point.
So in this case here, do they kind of document all of these leadership points themselves?
Yes.
You know, how do you recognize a teacher who works every middle school basketball game concession stand, right? That's outside of contractual. So there's probably gonna be a leadership point that fits there. We want to show our appreciation to that teacher.
Okay. I know from a business standpoint, we always had to establish our own goals and follow them.
You know, the business professional who taught us this process was actually kind of shocked that we were going to struggle setting goals. As educators, we've never been formally trained as how do you set goals, how do you meet those goals on our professional growth. If you're selling caskets and Batesville casket, that's your number one priority. What's your goal? Did you meet your goal? And your boss can review that goal with you.
Can a teacher, one of the goals be to improve their education?
Well, based on the master contract, there's a financial incentive. If you earn additional education, you move on the salary schedule, you change columns.
But could that fit into this room model?
Look, for example, and I'm kind of stretching a little bit, if you wanted to become a dual credit teacher through Ivy Tech, if you want to teach government and be able to award Ivy Tech credit, you could have that conversation with your high school principal about my goal for this school year is to earn my educational attainment, and then ... connect it back to students so that 100% of the seniors at Batesville High School can earn a government credit through Ivy Tech.
Okay,
That's a very targeted goal, and that's goal has a big return on investment.
sure. Okay. I know there's a lot to cover here and learn for us.
For sure. I
It's gonna
acknowledge
take some
about,
time.
I think Mr. Seminary said it best, so this plan will evolve based on feedback and utilization.
So if this gets approved, will this be used immediately for evaluations for this fall for teachers?
Yes. Observations and total growth, yes.
And when is the approval date?
So that's why it's here today, for your formal approval.
Okay.
Any other questions? Good, thank you.
Mr. Laker, we're gonna have you take the floor right now for our Bulldog Ready update and our Ford NGL coaches visit.
Okay.
A couple extra copies if you guys want.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, board, and thank you for allowing me the few minutes here to talk about our master plan year 2. And last time I spoke with you all, I talked about our Bulldog Ready calendar, and I had that year 2 begins kind of in September. Year 2 really began for us on Monday. And when we go back, you'll see I didn't create anything new for the school board today because this is our master plan. And if you read the top paragraph there, it talks about how the Bulldog Ready Master Plan is a living, breathing document created in collaboration with a 47006 community. That's also really important to me, is that the group that sat with our Ford and Gel coaches on Monday didn't recreate anything. We pulled up our master plan. We looked at our year 2. Well, first we looked at our year 1 checklists and action steps and saw what is not what we would call institutionalized. If something's institutionalized, it's now in place. An example of that would be our our rolling starts. That's a product of planning for years now. That is now how we do business at Batesville Community School Corporation. So anything in year one that then become institutionalized, we rolled that over and made sure that it's still a point of impact for year two. So we went through our year one and year two master plan implementation guide for each tactic team and really came up with them with what we call our 60-day sprints. And so we had each tactic team lead go through those action items for year one and year two and create kind of a big three. Similar to our teachers, we talked about that role that Jackie just spoke to. We did the same thing with our tactic teams. What are our big three? What are the big three things that we want to accomplish? What do we want to accomplish between now and Christmas? What do we want to accomplish the first couple weeks before spring break? And then what do we want to accomplish between spring break and the end? Kind of like three big goals by the end of the year. Obviously, there's smaller, minute details in there as well. But just for you all, back when I gave you the master plan template, it's more just a reminder that we have these 7 tactics who are working to kind of create processes and systems through the corporation and then the community. And so we spent half the morning or half the day dedicated to the tactic plans. And then the afternoon with our 40 GL coaches, we spent actually talking about a partnership handbook. As you have seen through the last couple of years of how much more involved we are with our partnerships, we want to make sure that there is an intentional structure that it's not always coming through me. And I know, again, we've talked about that pinch points. We want to make sure that as we distribute our leadership downwards to grade level leads, community coaches, other corporation employees, how do we make sure we're all speaking the same language? And that's what that partnership handbook will really do. It's really an internal document, how we communicate externally to our business partners. And so those are a couple of examples of what we did the last couple of days with our Ford and GL coaches. But I wanted to just talk about as well with our tactics here.
And Kyle, can I piggyback on that?
Yeah.
I want to stress the importance of laying that foundational piece in the community is that people will change, but the processes should stay in place. So the handbook, I hope Kyle's here for 70 years, but when Kyle retires or would leave, that process needs to be in place for the next individual and also for our community partners. Mm-hmm. So again, I think that's the beauty of this process is this is not a Kyle or Paul, this is how we do business as a community for our students and for our community. So that, again, just I want to stress the importance of the work that's being done is laying a foundation for a long time.
Similar to the plan that you just saw with the growth plan there is the same way, that's a document that we're going to create. This document here is going to lay out that plan. And what we did was, we're moving into year 2 now, right? And so we have year 2 objectives and year 2 action items that we want to make sure we're hitting these points through the tactics. And what we did is we first looked at who is made up of our tactic teams. And so, for instance, I'll start with tactic team 3, which is systems and structures. That's led by Andy Allen, right? And we all know that Andy will no longer be with Batesville come January. So how do we talk about that transition point? Who takes on that initiative? And so Paul, myself, Jackie, and others brainstormed kind of prior to that meeting about what does the transition look like for some of these tactics as we go into year 2 to keep the movement going. So Brad Stoneking was tapped on the shoulder from our primary school principal to, he's a systems guy. He loves his spreadsheets. He loves his data. How do we take that and build these systems and structures to what Paul just spoke to? That is, right now, sometimes I'm just doing things to get them done. That's not good business of how we need to do it. So we need to get back to that roots of strand 2 from our Ford and GL model, looking at those systems and structures and getting them in writing. So that way, if I leave or I also need help in some of those processes, that we're all speaking that same language. So that was the goal of today. Again, I just took you'll see the page numbers go all over the place here in the master plan. If you do want to see the details of that, you guys should have a spiral copy of our master plan. And if not, I can get you another copy as well. Just speaking to, again, a little overview of what each tactic is doing and how we reformatted those teams. This happened on Monday. So when I get it formally all typed up, I've been with my Fort and Gel coaches the last 2 days. I will make sure that you guys see that kind of rejuvenated teams where it fits on what the year 2 action items are. I think that was important for us to just take a step back. We didn't create anything new. We just want to make sure, do we have the right people in the right places to make the right movement for these tactical teams? Is that fair?
Thank you, God. So, believe in better continuous improvement. And Blaine, you asked a question about does this year 1, is that forever? For example, let me never assume this. Tactic teams are groups of people who pull the master plan off the pages and put it into motion. And I use this analogy all the time. When there's a church festival, someone's in charge of fried chicken, someone's in charge of trashman. These tactic teams are responsible for different portions of the master plan. Specifically, the tactic team 7, which I was the chair last year, it's called Building a Bulldog Community. And in the master plan, there are different portions. How do we make all kids feel like they're part of a community? Because when kids have a sense of belonging, we all know there's better outcomes for those kids. Part of this Bulldog community is how do we onboard new staff members? So we've transitioned from students to adults during our 40 GL coaching, which now changes the team. Todd doesn't know this, but he's going to be on tactic team 7 now. He just found out on the live stream. Along with some business partners who are experts in HR, right? So how does this team evolve? So we talk about building a community. It's not just students, but it's also our professionals. So again, we'll never be done with this work. This work will consistently be evolving and improving.
One question I have
Yeah,
is,
please.
year 1, are there any leftover items not completed?
A lot.
There are plenty, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
When we sit down as a community, and envisioned this 3-year plan, like we were ambitious at times, and we reflect back on where we've came in the last year, and it's pretty impressive. But it's also, to your point, Mr. Merkel, like there are some things that we didn't get to, and so those things rolled over to year 2. Yep. As a lot of the master plan was written, it was a lot of it was year 1 heavy to try to get these things up launched, and so we will have some grace with those tactic teams, but also the ability to catch up. Okay, it's important to make sure that those are still priorities from our master plan, and they're not getting overlooked by just saying, "Well, year 1's over with. Sorry, we didn't get those done." That's not going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Any other questions?
And Kyle, I want to commend your team and all the tactic teams on the work, because I know to Larry's question, right? Are we done with everything? Are we not? I have been a part of a number of conversations in the last month to where people not affiliated with the school system that are just, leaders of nonprofits or community members who have brought up that, everybody complains, get off my lawn type attitude, when you hit the age of about 35 and so on and so forth. And so, students, kids today. But I know that conversation has started to turn to say, well, the school system is starting to inject students into the community to learn these things and learn these skills and be a part of nonprofits and introduce them to these areas of the community that they were kind of born into, that they don't necessarily, other communities don't grasp or understand, right? You and I are close enough in age that we woke up and just by the grace of God, we were put into a community like Batesville that had all these things already built for us that we never had to see our parents really build or construct. It was just something that happened within the community. And so I know that conversation that students are now learning that and how those things come to reality is starting to circulate in the community up organically, not anything with school personnel having those conversations. So it's starting to percolate through the system here. So
yeah, Mr. Timonari, bring up a great point about how special Batesville is. And we had a chance to speak at Hendricks County the other day at a huge community, a group, and they're just blown away by the community outpouring or openness to just host our students, because that's a big point. Like, we can't do it all contained in the classroom, but can we get our experts in the community to help out with that process? And so that's exactly what this does. And one point I didn't make earlier was in these tactic teams, we do have a community member on each tactic team as well to continue that community-driven approach to it. So those are all parts of the master plan and our implementation.
I think ultimately, Mr. Timonero, it should be really fuzzy where school is and where it isn't, right? It's their zip code, right? Yeah. There's so much learning that occurs outside of our four walls. We have the obligation to prepare students to maximize those opportunities. And as silly as it sounds, community feedback was our work-based learning students should have name tags with a picture on it. You're right? So we take that feedback and we make name tags, 175 kids now at Batesville with name tags, and they should shake your hand, look in the eye, and all the things we want our students to have. Again, the master plan was developed, you're part of that, we'll develop our community. But this is what we want our kids to have when they leave Batesville High School. So good stuff. Kudos to Mr. Slaker.
It's really kudos to our team because our tactic teams especially, this is one case where, I can help direct it. I'll touch base with all the tactic teams every 60 days. But, Jackie is a tactic team lead for tactic 2 who's in charge of our professional development. And so as we speak to our teaming training that we've done on September 2nd and 22nd, where does next year go and what does next year look like? We sat down and talked about January 5th already. So it's just, you're always looking at that next step and even the next year ahead to continue to make all this.
So you and Jackie, you kind of have to mesh things together?
Yeah, she's the department chair of that, right? If you want to think about it, that chairman, but I have to oversee all of them. So that way, what we did is even on Monday was there's a lot of cross ties to some of the other tactics. And for instance, Jackie has one on there that talks about our staff industry tours. And we did those last year. Those were on her tactic team, but like my group, my tactic team really is the one who brought that forward. So this is a living, breathing document. We're taking that from tactic 2 and moving it to tactic 1.
Okay.
Because we have to see those gaps and see those overlaps to make sure the right group has the right content. When our community wrote this plan, they didn't necessarily know who the right, which one was going to go in.
Yeah, I do want to say this. This is truly transformational. We are one of a few schools, not just in Indiana, but across the nation, who are truly embarking on this journey. And it's not an easy lift. And there's a lot of touch points. There's a lot of great people in this corporation community making this happen. The amount of progress we made in the last year is amazing, and it makes me excited. And I think 3 years from now, when your children are in high school, what opportunities our kids will have from this community. I can't say enough good things about our teachers and our administrators and everybody making this happen. We've had so many teachers rise in leadership roles. We've taken the business model, reallocated financial resources, right? Like how can this teacher do something different, right? So we're so thankful for our community partners, and we're really dedicated to transform this process for kids. I don't want the board to lose
I'm allowed to
that.
ask a question, I don't even know if I'm allowed to.
Sure.
It's just for you. Are you guys then like talking to people that graduated out of the program? I know it's very new, right? But like I just had one that graduated, and I have one that went through it, didn't graduate through it, but how the skills help them later on down the line, whether it's in college or professional life, because I think that's the feedback that's probably going to give you the most input on how to improve the program going forward, because they're going to know what skills are transferable for future use. So I mean, it would just be something that I know you can't get because you're very new, right? But
Tactic Team 3 does exactly that. And when we have our community members, they want that quantitative data. And, like what we want to do is make sure that we provide them the opportunity, right? And we want to definitely follow that. But that's where the community comes in. When Batesville kids are applying for jobs out in the community, are you seeing the 7 attributes that we pushed in Bulldog Ready? Are you seeing that they're coming with certifications on their resumes? Like those are the things that we can really track. But I think it's going to come more from the business side of, because that's what we're trying to do this for. It's a workforce development for the 47006, right? And, we went into, Sean's not here today, Mr. Townsley, we went into the Morel Company yesterday with our freshmen, and Trey Peters, one of our VHS grads, is working there, and he just takes our freshmen kind of under his wings and is just showing them that process. But it's cool for us to see, going back to our why, 72% of our kids went off to college in our 2019 cohort, and only 75% of them pursued to year 2. Trey Peters is one of those examples. Through Bulldog Ready, through your son, through your kids as well, graduating, did they have a clear pathway when they left? We always use that career tree. Are they going right into the workforce? Are they going to a 2-year or getting some certifications before they go off to the workforce? Or are they going to those professional careers, those 4-year opportunities? But we're providing them opportunities on all 3 of those levels for them to make that informed decision. So we don't have 25% of our college-going kids not return for year 2. That's the ultimate goal of that. But that is a data point that we need to make, and what we're gonna do the next couple of years is just track even our juniors and seniors of how many kids are undecided when they say what they're gonna do. Because that's what we're trying to really, we're letting the kids try on these careers through Bulldog Ready, and so that they have a clearer picture of what it is their next step is.
That's a great question.
I think I'll piggyback it on Mr. Weiler. Is you went to high school here, Kyle Lane, great high school, right? I think when we started 40GL process transformational learning, there was a starting point freshman, sophomore year. So some of our recent graduates had great experience, but they really haven't gone through that transformational process. We're one of the few schools in the country to kind of do a K-12. Most of the time, it's just high school focused. So, but your point well taken. Like we need that data to glean like what's working well for us. That feedback.
I agree. I mean, knowing what we're doing in K to 12, we have to find out how successful we are when they leave.
Yeah,
And if
and
we
then
can somehow track that, that's a hard.
I think it's really, it's kind of scary to look like. My kids are 2036 and 2035 graduates. It seems like a long ways away. In 10 years, when they graduate, what does their graduation class look like compared to 2025?
Sure.
Or be 2005, right?
I think the data we lean on and Kyle touched on is we were proud to say like 70% of Batesville High School graduates go to college. Proud of that. But then we also say, well, about 40% of the students come home after year 1 because they weren't sure what they want to do in college. That's a big expense to pay for, right? So the goal is when you go to college, ultimately you want to be employed. We want everybody to be employed. Instead of saying you're going to college, or I want to be a chemical engineer, well, this is the track you're going to take to be employed as a chemical engineer. So again, philosophy, and you should be exposed to that, not just your freshman year. K through 8, there should be those opportunities to be exposed to careers, interests, passions, and relevance. So again, it would probably take 3 days of conversation to really unpack what's going on in our school corporation. I just want you to have snippets here and there. That was a lot of information, Madam President, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was.
So we're excited about it, we're proud of our work. We'll continue
Information
on.
overload.
I think this is gonna be the longest meeting in history. No, I'm kidding.
And I thought we should, so I apologize. Madam President, thanks.
You still get it done in 10
Sure.
minutes.
No Mike Ballmer, pretty good.
I know, I haven't broke that yet. Okay, so this is the point where we open it up for patron comments. You're invited to share your topics, comments, opinions. We just ask that you keep it school related and you do not mention an employee or a student.
Gotcha. I did. Sure. Yeah, so Chris Weiler, Blaine touched a little bit on the subject of why I'm here, but I think everybody knows me. If you don't, I had 2 daughters come through here already. Felt like they represented this school pretty well. I have a son right now. I feel like he does a pretty good job representing our school. I'm one to challenge people, always am, but in a respectful manner, and usually with some best interests of our kids in our school. So, what I'd say is that I recently sent an email to some of our administrators concerning our administrators coaching. And it's no reflection upon the administrators themselves. It's more about the fact that it's concerned me for years because I had a daughter that played basketball at Batesville. The basketball coach was the AD, and obviously that is hard when you're trying to have conversations about coaching, going to the AD who's also the coach, or having to go up the chain of command and really understanding that chain of command. I know we have a similar situation in our basketball program. I know we have a similar situation in our football program. Obviously, some people, including myself, didn't know the whole football situation this year until the Lawrenceburg game when the administrator came down and coached. And to be fair, it's not on the roster. So if we go look at the roster of the football program, there is no coach listed there. It's not in the board minutes. I checked those before. So it starts to create this perception of transparency, right? And so I'm not necessarily concerned on whether individual programs have challenges. That we have an athletic director, we have a school board, we have administrators that do that. They should talk to parents, they should talk to others in the community and see whether or not any program, whether it's athletic or not athletic, is a problem. But what I am concerned about is just that, do we have the proper structure in place, right? If I have an issue with and I put in here to make sure I get it right. If I have an issue that arises, where can I go? Coaches report to the AD reports to the principal reports to the superintendent, but all 3 of those people are on staff, so it becomes a very hard conversation, even here in front of you guys. In front of,
the superintendent, right? And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with having difficult conversations because I feel growth comes from difficult conversations. But, I just think that it really becomes a problem. And whether it's a perception or reality, it creates a place where there is perception for conflict of interest. There's also, the idea that we put in here as well, that can the person really act impartial or deny that they were part of any discipline problem if they're part of the staff, right? Not saying they are, but it becomes very hard because there's a lot of conversations that go on between coaching staffs and teachers and others. So I just want to raise that up. I think that we need to have dialogue about it. I would say also that this is no reflection, but it is a challenge to you guys, is that the opinion of this school board is that I can come here and present my case. I can't have dialogue, okay? But I can present it. And the only way for me to have a conversation with anybody is to have individual conversations with each individual school board member, which then creates possibilities of different conversations, no consistency. So as a parent, whether it's I'm a band member or whether I'm a community member, it becomes very hard to engage in dialogue. And look, I know people come here and cause problems. I get it, right? But there's also people here like me who are fine with just having a conversation and giving our viewpoints. And I think everybody here understands my viewpoint on this particular subject, right? So I think it's a structural problem. It's not a personal problem. It's not personal. I live it every day in the business world. I know it's hard to find coaches. I know it's a difficult task, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a process in place that whether perceived or reality, there's a conflict of interest. So that's kind of my challenge to this board, is that please take it under review, communicate out what you're doing, let people know what the decision was, engage them, because I think it's just going to lead to problems. It led to problems for me 3 years ago, being very transparent, and I wasn't going to sit and let it happen again, because I don't think it's good for anybody involved. So other than that, I appreciate the time. Happy to talk with anybody here. I know we're not supposed to name, but I've talked to Paul, and I've talked to others, right? So that's okay, right? And you may have different viewpoints than me, but I think it's good if people can express viewpoints, because that's where growth comes from. So thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. We'll take everything under consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley. We'll continue on. The next action item for your consideration is a sick bank usage form. Again, you do not see these very often. So just for a history lesson, there is a definition of a sick bank where certified and classified employees can donate one of their sick days into the bank. And if they exhaust or need to access additional sick days, there's a committee to do that. We didn't really have an easy to find sick bank usage form, which is good. That means we don't utilize the sick bank a lot. But this is a recommendation to a teacher conversation about approving this form so we can put it on the website so that if an employee needs to access the sick bank, they can easily find that form. So with that, I seek a recommendation to approve the sick bank form as presented.
Does anybody have any questions about the sick bank form?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Larry. Do I have a second?
And I will second, but briefly on that, we're going to kind of crosstalk here with Dr. Huber's presentation on the grow model. Is this possibly, I don't know how often this is utilized, but is this possibly something we can include as far as a leadership point, that if the teacher's willing to donate their personal sick days to the bank as far as a team effort? Is that something that can be factored in? That's just something for consideration.
Yeah, no, great question. So the quick down dirty is in the contract, it's contractual.
Okay.
So that's why there's a monetary attachment to salary benefits.
Understood.
Yeah.
I will second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Madam President, members of the board. The next action item for your approval is the teacher evaluation role model. You heard Mrs. Dr. Huber talk about that. Seek motion to approve that model as presented with the caveat, Mr. Demonero, that it will probably look different this time next year.
I will make the motion to approve the grow model, but I would appreciate a report back after this is utilized, both from administrative and from the teacher perspective, whether it's somebody from the BEA, to report back directly from them as to their thoughts on it, one way, shape, or form, as to how it goes through the implementation process. Just because it's new, it's personalized, and personally developed for our school corporations. Just hearing that from the teachers would provide me some comfort as as a
Would-
school board.
Absolute honorable one of the requests. It is unusual, again, right, when you have to evaluate employees, it's just one of those things like, we'll do our best. And the idea is not to evaluate, the idea is to grow our professionals. So that's what it is.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. The last one for your consideration, this is probably the heaviest hitter. We have some parking concrete bumpers that we need to declare obsolete. I'm being facetious there. We, at one time in our parking lot, we used to have a lot of concrete bumpers to stop traffic flow. We no longer use those. There's been some inquiry from community members about potentially utilizing those at school. At school, when we purchase it, we can't just give it away. It has to be declared obsolete. So with that, I'll let Mr. Hunter take a little deeper dive. Going to seek a motion to approve some concrete bumpers obsolete. Mr. Hunter, anything you want to add to that?
Most of the paving work we did this summer, and especially in the school bus lot, we pulled a bunch of them out, and they are going to try to continue without the need for those in the future, which makes it much easier to clean snow in the winter. But they do degrade over time from the weather, so there's a shelf life. We can't store them just indefinitely. We, in the past, items like that, if we can't use them, we check with the city or the Parks Department and other places. But I do know that there have been churches and other groups that have reached out to some of our maintenance people, because right now they're stacked up on the corner of the bus lot near the Innovation Center. We have plans to use some of those around the district over fall break. After that, then we'll probably look to try to find another home for them, or else we would have been sending them down to be recycled probably at Lysing or something.
Any other questions on that one? Can I get a motion to approve the
I'll make a
obsolete
motion to approve the obsolete items.
Thank you, Larry. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Blaine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll roll into the superintendent's report. I just wanted to update this board that the BCF annual campaign was successful. They did raise $50,000 towards the completion of the Batesville Middle School Outdoor Eco Lab. And then, just for your awareness, after our November board meeting, we will go down and tour the new Batesville High School Student Success Center, which was the annual campaign project last year. Additionally, I want to report to this board more information for we had a successful bond sale. We got a really good interest rate, better than expected. The interest rate was 3.117%. I think the number you saw was 4%. So what's that do that? Decreases the payback. So we're very successful bond sale. More information to come on that. And then just again, roll through some upcoming events. As always, very busy time of the year. Fall break starts next week. Friday's our last day of school. But when we come back, we have Batesville Middle School musical with the high school auditorium. Red Ribbon Week, Sound Bites Music Boosters event at Ron Weber at 6 p.m. on the 28th. And then on the October 30th, 31st, Halloween, fourth grade media fair, which seems appropriate. In November, we have another professional development day. Obviously, November 11th is Veterans Day, and we have a long-standing veterans program at the middle school. They'll actually be on WRBI tomorrow morning to talk about that. The ISO Love Plaza donation collections week, November 14th, November 17th, American Education Week, and then our November school board meeting, which will tour the Batesville High School Success Center afterwards on the 19th. No school on the 26th, and then before you know, we'll be taking time off for Thanksgiving break. So I just wanted to run through those upcoming dates with you. And with that, Madam President, to this board an opportunity for any comments.
I have none. Larry,
I don't have any.
Blaine?
I've provided sufficient comment today.
Larry, to a successful short of tomorrow morning.
I got one of the best.
Quick recovery for you.